Cole and Peter circled quickly down the steps, floor after floor, until they reached the lobby. Peter headed straight for the broken doors, but Cole stopped him with a loud whisper. "Hey, Peter, look." A grocery cart piled high with junk was parked in the hallway. "Isn't that the cart the old homeless guy was pushing?" Peter whispered. "It wasn't here when we came in," Cole said. "He must live in the basement. I told you I heard something." Both boys rushed from the building and across the overgrown lawn toward the street. "Forget the bowling balls," Cole said. "Do you think he lives there?" Peter asked, hobbling. "It's probably where he stores his victims." "Quit it, I'm being serious." When they reached a stoplight and paused to catch their breaths, Peter said, "Cole, maybe the old guy is scared of us too. We haven't done anything to him. He hasn't hurt us either. I wonder what happened to make him homeless." "Who knows what happened to make Keith a bully," Cole said. "If we run into those guys again, you should just run," Peter said. "Then only one of us gets beat up." "That's dumb," Cole said sharply. "We're friends, aren't we?" Peter scratched his chin in thought and then broke into a smile. "I think I have a secret weapon." "It's not a gun or a knife, is it?" Cole asked. "No, I'll bring my cell phone to school. So you can call the ambulance after we get beat up?" "Don't be a jerk. Listen, we're not allowed to use cell phones in school, but it's not illegal to carry them. I'll get the principal's number somewhere, then I'll program it in so all I have to do is push the send button and it will dial automatically. I won't even have to take the phone out of my pocket. I have one of those little microphones that I'll clip inside my shirt. If we get attacked, I'll reach in my pocket and push the button. The principal will hear everything that happens." "I don't think it'll work," Cole said. "You have a better idea?" Cole had to admit that he didn't. Wednesday morning, Cole struggled with his thoughts and emotions as he sat in the freezer. What if his time on the island had been a waste? Every day his anger seemed to come back stronger. What if he was nothing more than a big screw-up? Peter stood and opened the freezer door. "I'm about done," he said casually, trying not to show his shivering. Cole followed him out. Betty was whistling merrily as they walked from the back of the grocery store. She waved to them. "So, are you both happy now?" she called. "It's not something that happens overnight," Cole said, irritated by her cheerfulness. Peter seemed annoyed too. "How come you're always happy?" he asked suddenly, stopping at the counter. "You must not have much bad stuff in your life." Betty allowed a sad smile. "I've had plenty of bad things in my life," she said. "I'm not always happy, but would it make things better if I let myself get down all the time?" Cole walked to the counter beside Peter. "It's not that easy. You just can't decide not to be mad." "Says who?" she asked. "I spent more than a year on an island figuring out how not to be mad all the time." "Maybe you're a slow learner," she kidded with an easy laugh. "Mostly I sort things out raising my plants. Ever try growing orchards?" The boys shook their heads. "I suspect there's really only one way to find happiness." "What's that?" Peter asked. "You have to want to be happy. Some people don't." Because they were in different classes, Cole didn't see Peter again until after school. "The secret weapon is locked and loaded," Peter announced when they met. He patted the cell phone in his pocket and opened a button to show off the little microphone hidden inside his shirt. "I found the principal's cell number on my science teacher's desk. Have you told the principal about your idea?" "Maybe that wouldn't be smart." Cole smiled. The idea was crazy, but at least it gave Peter a sense of confidence. As they left the school grounds together, they passed the bulldog statue. "I hate that thing," Cole said. Peter agreed. "Everywhere you look at school, there's a picture of that ugly mutt." "Hey, I've been thinking," Peter continued. "You're right. It's not smart dropping the bowling balls. It's going to get us in trouble if we get caught. Besides, I'm kind of spooked by that old guy, too." Cole nodded as they walked. What if the bowling ball hit him? He could really get hurt. Hurt? It would kill him, Peter exclaimed. He would look like roadkill, and he'd be run over by a semi. Like he'd been run over by a semi. It would crush his skull like a smashed watermelon, and his brains would... Okay, I get the picture, Cole said. "So, do you have to head home right away?" "Not if I call my mom. Why?" "Maybe we could just hang out." Peter smiled. "Maybe we can try being invisible." After Peter called his mother, they walked aimlessly for several blocks. Both were in their own worlds, lost in thought, when suddenly they heard footsteps and turned. Keith and his friends had crept up behind them. "Hey, bear bait," Keith said, a smirk on his face. "Are you too deaf?" Cole wanted to kick himself for not paying attention. "Time for the secret weapon," Peter whispered, sliding his hand inside the pocket of his baggy pants to activate the cell phone. "What did you say, Gimp?" asked Keith. Peter spoke loudly, his words slow and deliberate. "I asked you what you were going to do to us now that you caught us 2 blocks away from school." "We're going to do what we should have done yesterday," Keith mocked. "What have we done to you guys?" Cole asked, but he knew they didn't need a reason. He never needed a reason himself when he used to beat kids up. He knew exactly how Keith and his friends thought, and it scared him. "Maybe I don't like you," Alex said, a skinny blonde kid from Cole's math class. Cole glanced around. Peter saying they were 2 blocks away from the school didn't help the principal much if he was listening. Cole pointed to a yellow house nearby. "You better leave us alone. The principal lives in that house," he said loudly. 246 Elm Street. Peter looked quizzically at Cole and then grinned. "Oh, yeah, she lives at 246 Elm Street," he repeated slowly. "What the?" Keith said. "You think we're stupid?" He shoved Peter. "If the principal lives there, my mother lives in an igloo." Peter was scared, but the cell phone gave him confidence, and he smiled. "Where did your mom get an igloo?" he asked. Keith slapped Peter hard. "Get that grin off your face, retard," he said, "or I'll wipe it off." Cole saw the group smirking and knew they were the most dangerous when they were showing off to one another. Quickly, he sat down on the sidewalk and pulled Peter down beside him. "Don't say anything more," he whispered. "Be invisible." "What are you doing now?" Keith asked. "We're not going to fight you," Cole said. "If it makes you feel big and strong to hurt somebody who's sitting down, go ahead." "I don't care if you're sleeping," Cole said, kicking Cole in the ribs. Raw fear showed in Peter's eyes as Keith turned and kicked him too. Eddie stepped forward and kicked Peter in the back. Cole was desperate to stop Peter from getting hurt. "Hey, dog breath," he shouted. "Why don't you kick somebody your own size?" Eddie and Keith laughed as they both kicked Cole at the same time. Lying on his side grimacing, Cole could see cars passing on the street. Drivers turned to look, but none stopped to help. Another hard kick in the chest took Cole's breath away. Then he heard Peter grunt from being kicked again. Cole looked up at Keith. 5 against 2 isn't exactly like fighting like a man. "Okay, then get up and fight just me," Keith said. "Yeah, right," Cole said. "And if I whoop you, your friends are going to just sit back and watch?" "I don't think so. I'm not that stupid." "You sure talk a lot for somebody who's getting his butt kicked," Keith kicked Cole again. Suddenly, a blue station wagon swerved to a stop beside the curb, and Miss Kennedy stepped out. The group started to run. "Stop, or I'll call the police," the principal shouted. "I recognize every one of you. Line up now." Reluctantly, the gang returned and shuffled into position. Cole and Peter stood, clutching their bruised ribs. Peter's nose was bleeding, and Miss Kennedy handed him a tissue. "Are you okay?" she asked. Peter nodded. "What are you doing here?" Keith asked the principal timidly. "I want to know what you're doing here," she replied. "We didn't do nothing to them," exclaimed Eddie. "Oh, let me guess," the principal said. "Peter and Cole just walked up to you again, and this time they sat down on the sidewalk in front of you so they could relax and enjoy your company." "We weren't really hurting them," Alex said. "We were just messing with their heads a little," said Keith. "Yeah, we were just joking," the others agreed. "Maybe we should joke with you a little," Peter said. Miss Kennedy's voice grew cold. "You 5 are the biggest cowards in our school. Instead of these 2, why don't you pick on the football team?" The group remained silent, smirking. Miss Kennedy moved slowly, looking into the boys' eyes until each looked away, and then she shouted, "You do not have the right to destroy someone else's dignity because you have none yourself." Cole was surprised by how the principal was acting. It took a lot of guts, but he still doubted anything would come of it. There weren't consequences in this school, not like on the island. There, if he chopped wood and covered it, he had dry wood for the winter. If not, he didn't. If he attacked a bear, it mauled him. If he gave it space, it trusted him. He wished Keith had to face the consequences for his actions, but he knew that wasn't how it worked at this school. "Cole, you and Peter go on home, but stop by my office in the morning," Miss Kennedy said. I'll meet the rest of you back in my office in 5 minutes. Anybody that gets there after me pays the fiddler double." Keith started toward the school, sauntering casually to prove he wasn't intimidated.